welcome to my office. This is the Steller Floors wood shop, and it's where we make all of our amazing hardwood floors. And today I'm going to be telling you about the different species that we offer. My name is Britta. I'm a co-founder here at Steller Floors. We make really innovative solid wood floors, and we have 6 different species that I'm going to be talking about. If you're shopping for a hardwood floor, you may have noticed that different floors are called by different species. And just like there's different species of birds or different species of flowers, there's also different species of trees. Here in front of me, I have American oak or red oak. I have hard maple, hickory, white oak, walnut, and American cherry. And each of these come from a different type of tree, and they don't interbreed. And so you can't really have like a half American oak, half walnut. You can only have an American oak or a walnut. And sometimes some folks even get white oak or red oak. This is American oak over here, mixed up. And so we're going to be talking about the difference between these different species, their hardnesses, what spaces they're good for, and how they affect different design aesthetics. The first one we're going to start with here is our American oak. This is red oak. And what you can see from this plank is that there's a very distinctive grain pattern. So what you'll see is cathedral grain marks, where it alternates between light and dark. And what's really interesting about oak is that actually that pattern is also following its hardness. The brighter spots are harder, and the lighter spot or the darker spots are more soft. So if you ever get a dog claw scratch across your oak floor and you wonder why it's a little bit spotty, it probably follows the pattern of the grain. Here what you can see is that our oak floors have a little bit of a blonde color, a sandy blonde. However, when you're comparing your red oak, your American oak, to something like your white oak is going to be a sandier blonde. It's going to be a little bit darker brown. And your American oak is going to be slightly peachier. Now, to be clear, sometimes our suppliers are actually sending us red oak when they think they're sending us white oak. And sometimes they're sending us white oak when they think they're sending us American oak. And so when you go back and forth like that, these are very similar options. The main distinction here is price. So if you're looking for something that's cost effective, American oak is a great option. You can get it in any stain color, so you'll see the grain patterns, but you won't see this specific color. You can get it lighter or darker. And the same is true of white oak. But in general, when people are going for white oak, it's this specific color that they're looking for, a specific aesthetic, and sometimes people are looking for quarter sawn white oak. But those are all pretty ritzy options. And so most folks, this is our most popular flooring option is American oak or red oak. And so a lot of people will choose this with a stain on it, sometimes even to make it look like white oak. The next option that we're going to talk about is maple. So maple is a really modern option. You can see it's really bright and clean looking. You won't see many dramatic grain patterns in this species. And you can add a color to this look so that it's not as bright. You can add a whitewash. One of my favorite options is actually our Napa our Napa maple. And that Napa really helps this flooring stand out and iridesce. It gives it a super modern look, almost like a marble, but it's real wood. Hard maple is really distinctive because it actually comes from the trees that we tap for maple syrup. So while it has this subtle grain pattern, it actually also has a significant amount of iridescence. And so what you'll find is that it'll have a really cool little shimmer. And so that's one of my favorite parts of it is it almost shimmers sort of like mother of pearl or something like that in different little spots across the floor. This is one of the most modern choices that you can choose. And it definitely adds a more homogeneous look versus your traditional oak patterns. Here in the middle, we have hickory. Hickory is our hardest option. And you can actually tell that there are 2 very different grain patterns in hickory. Some of it is dark and some of it is bright. Sometimes you can even get a plank that's completely bright or a plank that's completely dark. And this creates some dramatic grain patterns in your flooring. In general, this option is considered really traditional. So when you're looking for a traditional option, hickory's at the top of the list. This will stand out as absolutely a real hardwood floor because no plank will look the same as any other plank in the room. But because of that dramatic grain pattern, you are going to have more of a traditional look, a more southern feel. One way to make it super modern and dress it up a lot is to whitewash it. So you can check out like our Nashville, which is a great high-end treatment for a hickory that makes it really unique and different, but also significantly more modern. As I mentioned before, this is our white oak. White oak is pretty brown and sandy compared to something like our American oak or our red oak. In general, you're not going to be staining this puppy. You may whitewash it. So whitewashing it causes it to have this very cool bluish color. It's extremely unique, so it's not replicatable in any of the other species that we have. But otherwise, staining this to something like maybe brown would look very similar to your American oak. So that, in a lot of ways, there's extra expense involved with getting the white oak backbone, and you would have a similar look in the end. So that's why we would often choose the American oak over the white oak, unless you're going for this specific color. Now, this beauty queen here is super unique and rare. Our walnut here is such a specialized option. It is our highest end option, reaching often almost $30 a square foot. As a solid wood plank, this material is super high end. It's 3/4 of an inch thick. These trees are fairly rare, but they're also very dramatic. So they have very dramatic grain patterns. So if you're a wood lover, if you love to see variability in grain patterns, and you can often get a little bit of that fire sheen in just a clear finish walnut. This is one of the most luxurious choices that we have, but it's also one of the softest. So this is really for those sensitive spaces, places where you're not expecting to have super high traffic, or if you're really looking to make a dramatic statement. Obviously with Steller Floors, it's really easy to repair and replace planks. So it's the best case for having a walnut floor and being able to take care of it. You can easily refinish or repair your planks. You can also just use your suction cup to remove a plank, move it across the room, hide it under a couch, pull it under the couch and bring it out in the middle of the room. So if you really, really love this rich, dark walnut feel, and you'll see it's the same color on the front as it is on the back. This is its natural wood tone. If this was refinished, there would be no stain. You would just put a satin polyurethane on top. And this is the natural color of the wood. So that's what's really exciting about walnut and makes it so high end. And finally, one of our most classic choices is an American cherry. So cherry, you can tell, is a little bit ruddier than all of the other options that we offer. So here you can tell that there's some subtle grain patterns more similar to a maple, but it also has sort of the shimmer of a walnut, and it has some of the richer, darker colors naturally that you might find in an oak or in a hickory. Cherry is just a really special floor. I had one client tell me that when she was growing up, there was a cherry floor that had one spot that iridesced her as she walked by. Cherry has a very special place in my heart, but also, like walnut, is a little bit soft. So this is really a socks-only species, and it is more sensitive to patina. So if you really love this color, you might need to move your rugs around a little bit so that you don't get sort of a pattern where your rugs were. And again, with a Steller floor, it's super easy to swap planks in and out, mix up that pattern, and keep your floor looking fresh over its lifetime. As a 3/4 inch product, our materials are super resilient and are built to last for over 100 years. So that's one of the exciting things about Steller Floors that makes it different. Each of these different options, except for probably cherry and walnut, come in different stains. So we can change the color, and we can talk about that a little bit in another video. And we just released new stains on our website. So that's a really exciting place to go check out. You can see these in sort of whitewashes, taupe washes, mid-tone browns and grays, and some dark browns and even black. To see these different grain patterns, which are unique, with different stains on top. So that's a little bit about the differences here between our different species. If you have other questions, put them in the comments, like and follow. We're always here to answer your questions at Steller Floors. You can also reach out, give us a call. We love getting to know you and your flooring project.